Not quite the intro we were going for there, but
bit clunky. First one. It's the first one of the match play.
Yeah, left the overlay up. No new video from Mr. Phil, the famous Mr. Phil Bars. But hello and welcome to the Fallout Bar here at Online Darts. My name is Jack Gold. I'm joined by Mr. Dan Simpson. Dan, the Betfred World Match Play is upon us. How good does it feel to be saying that?
Oh, it's just the best, isn't it? It's the best, in my opinion, and we're all entitled to our own opinion. It is my favourite tournament. Of the year, both as a darts fan, as a pundit, as a person that likes to talk about darts. It's my favourite one to travel to and be at. I'm really lucky. I'm going to be there. Definitely for quarterfinals and semi-finals this week, and I'm pretty sure the women's match play as well, so I'm very lucky towards the back end of the week. But yeah, it's just amazing to get started. I was a little bit underwhelmed, like looking at the matches tonight, if I'm completely honest, because the first round draw was so good. Like there was so much amazing stuff in that first round draw that when I saw the lineup for tonight, I was a bit underwhelmed, but I think we've been suitably entertained. It delivered more than I expected out of tonight, which is good.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think everybody's looking forward to that Monday session, is it? We could probably be a little bit more underwhelmed with draw tomorrow, but actually, we've had 4 pretty tasty encounters or performances delivered, at least within those matches tonight, to open the match play, starting with an absolute belter between Gerwyn Price and Daryl Gurney. Look, the scoreline says 10-4 in that one, but in truth, that was a lot closer at the second interval.
Yeah, it was I mean, to be honest, again, it was a very enjoyable game to watch, and being, a bit, I suppose, with the greatest respect to both players, I haven't enjoyed a lot of both of these players' games in recent times. That they haven't delivered on watchable darts, and that's very, very much what we got. The first interval at 4-1 up, Gezi looked like he was gonna, absolutely cruise to victory. He looked like he was well on it. Gurney took a couple of breaks of throw in that second interval, made it a bit more of a match. But I think that the main difference, there was a little bit of a difference in the averages, but Gezi's finishing was clinical, really, really, like just a shave under 60% on the doubles. And that's where we've probably seen or had and given ourselves the biggest criticism of Gerwyn Price's game over the last 18 months or so, is that even when he can find the score, and he's not really been able to consistently hit the doubles. And, if that's the form he can carry through and he can lift his average a bit, then he can be a real threat. Like, we know he's an elite player, but he's just got to be at it. And tonight he looked at it. And, Gurney didn't play bad. He played all right. Like he made a game of it and he played okay, but he wasn't able to find that level of game that we know he's got in him to really push Price and to it looked inevitable all the way through that this was the result that we were going to get. I thought in spells Gurney might have tightened it up a bit, and if he could have been even a third more as clinical on the doubles as Price was, then it would have been a bit tighter. But a good game and very positive signs for Gerwyn Price.
Well, he's missed darts for 5 apiece as Daryl Gurney to go into that second break, and I think that mentality just flips in your player's mind. You've got away when you were 4-1 down after the first session. You had chance in that session, but again, weren't quite clinical. You were maybe a dart away in some of those legs against Gerwyn, who's fired up and looking to get going, opening the match play. There's a lot of pressure on that. There's a lot of talk. You're ready to go. You don't want to be the first one out as much. You get back to 5 apiece. I think we see a slightly different game in that second half. But 6-4, then Price wins the first one as you come back out. And Gurney never really has an answer to stop the rot, does he?
No, and that's it. You've allowed Price. I mean, he's clearly come out. He's obviously, he must have come out after the first break full of beans. He's 4-1 up, and then Gurney's done exactly what he needed to do. Is he's immediately took that break of throw off Price, but then he's lost it straight away. Then he hasn't held, and then he's took another break, but it was too little, too late in the end. And certainly when he couldn't level up after, at 5-all, I think it just gave Price too much comfort. He wasn't able to worry him, and Gerwyn Price left the stage and came back to the stage in front both times, and knew at that point, if I hold my darts, I win this. It's that I'm comfortable. It was a good game though, and entertaining. Gurney will be disappointed because I think he will have probably eyed that draw and thought, clearly wrongly from the what we've seen from Price tonight, but Gurney, you would assume, has thought that Price could be got at. He's not.
A lot of us were talking that up before the tournament, weren't we? We were like, we don't really know where Gerwyn Price is. He's a bit hit and miss. He's had this spat and love-hate relationship with non-ranked events, shall we say, and invitationals over the last few months. We've seen him play okay on the Euro Tour, but it seems
and rowdy crowds as well.
Many drops, yeah.
Rowdy crowds. We've seen crowd issues in various different locations, and as you know, the match play, the Winter Gardens is a wonderful, wonderful venue, and that Empress Ballroom is gorgeous to watch darts in, but it is tight. Like, the crowd are right on top. We did get a lot, and I'll come to it when we talk about the later games, but we got an awful lot of whistling in the last game. That was a real frustration. I'll not be tolerating any of that when I'm there later in the week. I'm happily to remove people on behalf of the venue if I see any of that shenanigan going on. But awesome. And I think that's where Gurney couldn't capitalise, because you level that up to 5-all, and then you do involve the crowd a bit. You get the crowd interested, and they start. The crowd aren't interested at Gerwyn Price 4-1 up, because they're not. There's nothing to really boo and hiss at, because it's just happening. It's just going on. I think if you level that up to 5-all, the crowd get involved a bit, and it's potentially a bit of a different dynamic on stage, and maybe you do open the door for Price to start having some of those issues or problems, but he was too far away. He was too much at arm's length, Gurney, from Price tonight, and couldn't capitalise in any direction, really.
He was indeed. Let's then hear from the first winner of this year's Betfred World Match Play, the Iceman, Gerwyn Price.
I don't care what they think, as long as I'm confident in myself, and I turn up and believe in my own ability. I don't think anybody's worried about me. I'm not worried about anybody else. We all turn up, try our best, and if we're good enough on the day, then we'll win. But yeah, I don't think anybody's worried about me like I'm not about them.
The Iceman speaking in his press conference. Reminder, Phil Bars is on site for us this week at the Betfred World Match Play, getting you instant reaction from every single winner throughout the tournament. If you want to check out any of those interviews in full, make sure you've liked and subscribed to the channel, and you can head over and catch them after this show. On to match number 2, then, of a real tasty battle. But actually, Dan, a couple of months ago, maybe even 18 months ago, would have got the tongues wagging pre-draw. Then we got the absolute belter of a draw that we did. And this one kind of snuck under the radar a bit, but Johnny Clayton's very recent return to form, didn't quite get to see it at the World Cup after Gerwyn Price withdrew that, played with Jim Williams, beaten in the first knockout round. But a superb display to see off Raymond van Barneveld, 10-7, 100 average for the Ferret. Plenty of finger points to go with it.
Yeah, a real positive game for Johnny Clayton. This this was a bit of a draw that was an interesting draw because it is Raymond van Barneveld. We know everything that he's achieved in the game. I need to bore everybody with that, and we know he's not at his best, but he's still got that game in him. And Johnny Clayton, whilst we've seen some recent good performance, we've seen him play well on the Pro Tour. We've seen that game that we saw lift major trophies starting to come back, but the World Cup didn't go to plan for Johnny. I think it was good timing for him that we did have a couple of Pro Tours to get stuck in between the World Cup and the match play. But it was a bit similar in some ways to the previous game, in that both players did a lot of really good things, but Johnny did those right things, coming out and taking that breaker through immediately. That first break, essentially, that's what got him the lead at the first interval, was being able to come out a little bit faster than Raymond and get that one leg ahead. Barney, difficult again, a little bit like Gurney, and he's played at a similar level to Gurney. If you look at the stats in terms of the amount of 140s and tons thrown and the way he was doubling and it was a very similar level to what we saw from Gurney. Obviously, it's been a little bit tighter. I think that's essentially just Clayton not as clinical on the outer ring as Price was. But there were definitely moments in this game where it could have just gone at 9-6. It looked when Johnny took the break for 9-6, you thought, oh, it's done now. It's too far away. Johnny will just get rid of it. But then to immediately lose that, that a break of throw and to throw for the match and not get the job done. Whenever a player throws for the match and doesn't get the job done, you immediately become concerned. You think, is there something? Has he just missed it, or is there a bit of something that's not settling right? Is there a bit of, and then you wonder what effect that then has on the player. And I mean, Johnny put those thoughts about immediately to bed by coming out, breaking Raven van Barneveld and taking the match. But yeah, lots of positives for Johnny, as we said a little bit about Gerwyn Price. Again, similarly to what I said about Gurney and the games, there's a lot of similarities between both matches in that Barney might have saw that draw and thought, the year Johnny's had, he could be got at. But I think the players, and this might be a pattern that develops over the coming days, in that the players that many of us have identified as, the seeds that potentially in danger, might have a tough time of it, can be gotten out of there, just dig their heels in and turn up and just outperform the non-seeded players, which I think is exactly what we saw here.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I didn't think that one snapshot of a Pro Tour was enough to say Johnny Clayton is back. You look at interviews and whatever he's been given recently, and you're like, Johnny, what aspiration is just to play well again? He's lost that little bit of a spark, or so it seemed. But actually, after that, after a decent couple of days on the Pro Tour, it certainly seems like Johnny Clayton is here and ready to contend. Quick hello to everybody in the chat room. Preston's in. Josh is in as well. Connor says, will there be a fallout bar tomorrow with the football? The honest answer to that one is I haven't got a clue. I genuinely don't know. TBC. We'll let you know. Keep an eye on our socials, which is a good time to plug them. We are across absolutely everything. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you name it. We've got it. We're on TikTok. You'll see snapshots of all of our interviews on there. We're even on Truth Social. Now, I'm not sure how often we do post on that. And given the very recent news that Donald Trump has been shot, how long that remains a platform is to be seen. But yeah, we are on Truth Social if you fancy checking that one out. Anyway, back to this one. We do have a short clip from Johnny Clayton to play. This is what he had to say in his post-match press conference.
Not really. I didn't want to be here, to be honest. I could have easily pulled out, too many memories. And but I'm back. Got the first game over with a win. So I'm here for a bit longer, guys. So we'll see you on Tuesday, I think.
What's reignited Johnny Clayton? Because obviously we know everything you went through, but now it's the old ferret, the smile's back, the point of the camera's back. What's turned it for Johnny Clayton recently?
I don't know. I ain't gonna lie to you. I was gonna give it all up. When I lost my dad, I was gonna give it all up. Not bothered about dads, right? And I got friends and family behind me who believe in me. They just kept saying he wouldn't have wanted this. Just play what you do best, and I'm trying to get back to it. So there's a smile back on the old ferret, and hopefully you'll see a lot more of him.
Yeah, he could be dangerous, with that mindset. Really dangerous. I do love that I've just spotted in the chat room that you may have just announced to some of our followers and watchers some of the most, biggest global news in a decade or so that you may have just announced on a darts stream, which is quite, people finding that news out for the first time from Jack Gobby Garwood. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's clipped his ear. Donald Trump is not in critical condition in hospital by any means, as far as I know, but it's certainly making the rounds on social media. He's been shot at one of his rallies. Weird little tangent to make while we're here for the Betfred World Matchplay.
There's one we didn't. I didn't prepare any notes for that bit. I haven't got. None
at all. Anyway,
I haven't got a clue what his average is. I don't know what's going on.
They've averaged, they are 0 from 1 on the outer ring. They've just clipped it on the outer wire.
Yeah, he's had a bounce out, I think, hasn't he?
Anyway, moving swiftly on, match number 3, and all I can say about this one is wow. Luke Humphries, the world number 1, the world champion, just has this knack of being able to turn it on at the right time for the biggest tournament, and this match play looks absolutely no different. What a start from Humphries, 108 average, a 10-4 victory over Ricardo Petrescu. Petrescu is only the 5th player to average over 100 on their world match play debut, and he has been absolutely hammered, Dan.
Yeah, it was what it was, wasn't it? Like it's difficult to analyze too much because again, yeah, I mean Petrescu's done very little wrong. You know, he's turned up, he's averaged over 100 on his debut, as you say, and he's been absolutely stuffed. And he did very well to get those 4 on the board. So I put a little message into our group earlier because I was desperately trying to find some value in this game because let's be honest, this Luke Humphries, there is no value, and looking for a bet on Luke Humphries. And I thought, how far down have you got to go down the handicap to get even money? Like, what's the money line on it? And it was minus 5.5, which was bang on the nose, to be honest. So the handicappers were absolutely spot on in terms of where they thought this game was going to go. I don't know if we predicted. I don't think we predicted scores, did we? I think we just said. I think we all. I had not spoke to anyone or aware of anyone that didn't have this a comfortable Luke Humphries victory. I don't think anybody had it 109 average and 60% on his doubles. Like it's a monster start, but it makes me a little bit excited because I think the second round game I am most and everybody knows I love the Northeast lads. So if Ryan Joyce beats Stephen Bunting, I'll be celebrating and high fiving strangers on the night bus. But it makes me very excited for the potential of an at it Stephen Bunting close to home. And Luke Humphries at this in round 2, and certainly the way the crowd are going to get involved in that as well. That's a really, really exciting prospect for the second round. But just Luke Humphries doing Luke Humphries things, wasn't it? Again, you can't really say too many positive things. To talk through, the detail of the match is a bit irrelevant, really. I think the way you could describe it is Petrescu clung on to some holes of throw where he could, and other than that, I mean, he had to do all of that work just to hold a few of his own legs. Like he was never going to make any inroads on Luke's throw, one-way traffic. But very exciting to watch, and a really, really exciting prospect to see how Luke then carries that form forward if he can.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, if you offer anybody 100 average, 36% on the doubles on your match play day, you're going to snap someone's hand off for it. But he's just not got a look in. He's outscored Humphries in the tons and ton 40s, not the 180s. That's where Humphries has dragged it back 6-2 in that one. But look, you've got to feel a little bit for Petrescu, especially with the crowd deciding that was the perfect time to start singing "It's Coming Home," which it may well still do. And if not, it may well be going home to Luke Humphries from the match play, because what a message, what a statement sent from the world number 1 and world champion. And we can hear from him now.
Yeah, in a way, obviously it's a great statement, but it's just one game. It was a fantastic performance from myself, but it was a fantastic performance from Ricardo as well. Just a great game. If I didn't play as well as I needed to, I could not been here right now, and Ricardo could have been. So I just played the player, to be honest. I was trying to outscore him and outfinish him, and just a couple of missed doubles for himself there. And I think 10-4 could have been like 9-7, 8-6, or it could have been a closer game. So, yeah, just really pleased that I got over the line there. But that was a good statement for myself.
Professional performance, professional interview from Luke Humphries in 1-on-1. Before we do move on, Dan mentioned that he was scouting for a bit of value on Luke Humphries in the previous one. A reminder that all of our coverage this week of the World Match Play is brought to you by the title sponsors Betfred. If you are having a flutter, be gamble aware 18+. But Dan has a special offer for you from Betfred themselves.
I do. Fred is a generous chap, and what he's decided is that if you are a new customer, if you are new to Betfred, then you can have £50 of free bets if you bet £10, which is very, very reasonable. You do have to put a code in. So if you are a new customer to Betfred and you haven't used Betfred before, when you join, if you use the promo code SUMMER50, SUMMER50, and then bet £10, you'll get £50 in free bets to use on. In fact, and just from what I understand of the offer, and I'll put my hands up and apologise later in the week on a follow if I've got it wrong, but that doesn't pertain specifically to darts. So you can put your £10 bet on anything, and your £50 bets can be used on any sport. So it's not specific to darts. Obviously, there is some recommended bets and some value that we are looking for within the online darts team each day, posted on our socials, but you're free to use them how you wish if you want to engage with Betfred as a first-time customer.
Like a big full-on whack on England to bring it home tomorrow. Anyway, moving swiftly on. No comment. Moving swiftly on, we are on to the last game of the night, and one that seemed to not drag a little, but it was certainly a bit more of a battle than other encounters this evening. The defending champion Nathan Aspinall playing through that injury, struggling with his elbow and his wrist. Conversations around both throughout the evening. Eventually getting the job done 10-8 over Luke Woodhouse. Dan, look, up and running from the Asp, slow start, bit of a slog, which is what Aspinall's sort of renowned for. He loves these little scraps, but Luke Woodhouse will be looking at this one as an opportunity missed to get a big win over a big player on TV, won't he?
Oh God, 100%. And it ebbed and flowed. It was a grind out battle, this one. And I know, you know, we won't keep veering onto football, but this is a darts match that reminded me so much of recent England games, in that, like, it just felt like time almost was just not, it just slowed down to almost to a stop. And there was sort of little things happening. And Luke Humphries, I think, has missed the biggest opportunity here, because Nathan Aspinall repeatedly held the door open for him. He had multiple darts at 8-all. He missed darts, or he missed opportunities. Well, he missed plenty of opportunities earlier in the game to get further ahead, but he missed that double 12 to go 9-8 ahead, which would have meant he had the darts in hand throwing for the match. And he was unable. He took a step back. He hit the 2 treble 19s, and he almost put his arm up to throw into the double 12 and then didn't, and then stepped back. And it seemed like that was probably not the right thing to do. He broke his own rhythm, and then it was a wild miss on the double 12. Nathan came back for 60. It wasn't a great shot into the big 20. He almost veered into the 5. The first shot at double tops again was wild. That was halfway in the middle of the Winmore lettering, and then he managed to ping it dead center, perfect. The third dart went absolutely beautifully center into the bed of the double 20. Yeah, I think it is a missed opportunity. It doesn't fill me full of confidence for Nathan Aspinall, because I think he's got away with murder. You know, it doesn't. I think there's tougher games ahead with respect to Luke Woodhouse. There's tougher games ahead with players with more big stage experience, and if he can't find a way to lift that level, then I think he's going to really struggle. But he's got away with one today, I think, Nathan. He'll be happy to come through it. I'm sure, but I don't think he'll take a lot of positives away from the performance.
Well, we don't have the clip ready for you as yet, but you can catch the interview on full on our channel. But I can read a little bit from it to basically not quote directly, but to break it down a little bit for you. He says, I don't want people to feel sorry for me. He also says he's going to take a 3-month break after the World Matchplay for treatment, and that he nearly quit a match quit in the middle of the match just last week on the Pro Tour. So look, it seriously is getting to Nathan Aspinall right now, and the fact that he's won a game in that condition as a defending champion should probably be applauded in that situation. He loves a battle, he loves a scrap, but long term, there are serious concerns for the career of Nathan Aspinall right now, and hopefully that
it didn't look comfortable either on stage. There was an awful lot of re-gripping, a lot of addressing the oche, stepping back, readdressing the oche again. And again, how much of that is the grip, or it's just the comfort in his, in his arm and how it's feeling. And don't forget as well, these games get longer. As he moves through the tournament, these games get longer, and towards the back end, they're a slog. It's long periods of time on stage throwing. And I know he's practicing. I know it's, he puts the hours in, but carrying an injury as serious as this seems to be, you do question how much the grit and determination that he has will be enough to get him through, because the performance, numbers wise, won't be enough.
Indeed. Why is that? Right, as I said, we don't have the Nathan Aspinall clip to play for you, but you will be able to catch that in full on our YouTube channel in a short amount of time. If not, first thing tomorrow morning, or if you're listening back to this as a podcast in the morning, then it will definitely be available to you by then. Now it's our job to try and predict what will happen tomorrow. Double session. Dan, we'll try and get through these 8 games as quick as possible. We are approaching the half-hour mark. It is just nearly midnight already, so we can get these done in 5 to 10 minutes then. Beautiful. We started with a bit of a belter tonight, and we start once again tomorrow with a bit of a belter. Dan, Ross Smith against Josh Rock.
Yeah, so this was one of the games that I was really looking forward to when I saw that first round draw. When we talked through our brackets on the live lounge, I had one of these players go. I think a lot of people had the other player going a little bit deep in that bracket. I am going to continue with my early picks, and I think it's a Ross Smith victory. I think it's probably going to be an absolutely superb game. I think we're going to see some massive averages or some really good scoring through phases of the game, and I will go 10-7.
I keep flip-flopping on this one. I think Ross Smith is a fantastic player, but there is one little concern for me, and that Josh Rock plays at such a pace, Ross Smith goes chasing that pace. I don't think he holds the fort with his own rhythm. I think he tries to play at Josh's pace. And then if the 180s aren't quite flowing and they're 140s and tons, I think that's where Josh gets him. So I'm going to say 10-6 to the Northern Irishman.
Oh, big, bold.
Match number 2. If the first one was going to be pacey and full of 180s, the second one probably won't be. Danny Noppert takes on James Wade. These two have been comparable the last week. Danny Noppert has effectively been the new James Wade, just doing enough. Mid-90s average. He's been clinical on doubles for the last 2 and a bit years. Seriously underrated at times. A real intriguing battle up on that Winter Garden stage.
Yeah, and this is for a spot in the next round against Nathan Aspinall as well. And both these players may well have plotted their little route through, knowing what they know about Nathan Aspinall's current condition and seeing him play tonight. I'll let you go first on this one.
I'm really struggling to pick this one.
I've got mine. I was just being polite, really. And I didn't want you to look like you were copying, because I am going to go with
James. I think I'm siding with him as well. That last-minute run, the form's been there or thereabouts on the Pro Tour of late, and we haven't seen a great deal of Danny. It's just been that weird period where we just haven't seen a lot of him. Not Euro Tour, not Pro Tour, and there's been no major since the UK Open. It's been a weird time to get anything about Danny, unless you're paying full attention to Pro Tours, etc. So, I think I'm going to side with Wade. His record there is unbelievable in qualifying. It's not been the best first round of late, but I don't think Danny's one that will, famous last words here, but I'm not sure Danny Noppert is one that will massively hurt James Wade in the scoring department. And if you can keep it tight, you can keep getting attempts at double. I think that's where Wade will hurt him. So I am going Wade, and I am going to say he wins this one 10-7.
Yeah, I'm going to go ever so slightly wider. I had it as a 10-6. I think for all of the above, we haven't seen a great deal of Danny Noppert at all recently, and he's treading water, I think, a little bit in terms of sort of his ranking and his position in the darts world. I think there are players making moves onto the, in higher up into the rankings, and there are players on the slide down. I think Danny's he's sort of treading water a little bit. But I just think experience. I know Danny Noppert's an experienced guy, but just Wade, he knows how to get the job done. Certainly in those early rounds, certainly in that venue, we've seen recent upturn in form from him, and I'm finding it hard not to pick him.
Indeed. Third match. Lots of people picking this one as a potential upset. The former champion Dimitri Van den Berg takes on the Wall, Martin Schindler.
Not me. Not for me. Not an upset. Schindler's played, he's great. He's a brilliant player, and we've seen some wonderful stuff from him. But Dimi just sort of he finds ways to win things when he's not expected to quite a bit. We sat and watched that all the way through the UK Open, and I think he's
You say we sat and watched it all the way through. We watched him in the semi-final and the final.
Yeah,
that was when we had to be.
We went in the room Dimmy wasn't playing in for most of the weekend. But I think Dimmy, I don't know the stats on it, and I'm happy to be called out on it, but he does well. He does well in 50-50s. When he blows it, he tends to blow it where he should have, or was expected to win. He does well in these 50-50 games. So certainly when people are backing the opponent a little bit, I don't know whether it takes the heat off him, maybe lifts the pressure a little bit. I think it'll be close-ish. 10. Will I go that close? 10-8, Dimitri Van den Berg.
We spent all of Monday telling everybody how this was an incredibly open tournament and the seeds wouldn't fall. And I'm backing another one to get through here. I think he's just got this knack, hasn't he? One, on that stage. Two, the fact he can dictate the pace so much more than anybody else. I'm going Dimmy. I'm going to go 10-7. And then we complete the afternoon session in inverted commas, because obviously a quick reminder that session times have been moved tomorrow. That opening session will start at midday in the UK. Looks to be done for 3:30, with the evening session starting around 4:30, so we can get done in time for the European Championship final later in the evening. We close out the first session of the day with Stephen Bunting against Ryan Joystan.
Let's go Bunting mental.
Have you just backed against the North East lad?
Have we dropped? Oh no, it's because I am essentially, like I like to do, manifesting chaos. That's what I like. Like I do like to, wherever I can, manifest chaos. And I'm the prospect of an in-form, playing well Stephen Bunting meeting the current Luke Humphreys in the second round is too good for me not to desperately try and manifest. So I think I'm expecting a big turnout from Stephen Bunting and a 10-5 victory. Big performance I think we'll get tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm going Bunting as well. Recent record at the Winter Gardens has been very, very good. Form in the last couple of months has been very, very good. Seems to be in a better place than ever before. Recently announced that he is expecting another child with his partner, which, if you track the dates, is 9 months on from the Masters exactly. Good lad. And the crowd will go absolutely Bunting mental tomorrow. So, yeah, I too am going Bunting. And I think he wins this one quite comfortably. This is the widest prediction I've put in yet. I think he wins 10-5.
Go with that.
Moving on to the afternoon session, we open with Rob Cross against Jim. Rob Cross is opening a session. Crikey. He takes on the young Dutch star Jan van Veen. When we spoke on Monday, Dan, there was a couple of matches that were 50-50. You can make an argument for the non-seeded player to win. I think this is one of 2 or 3 in the entire draw where you go, the seed comes through this. And Rob Cross's form of late has been magnificent.
And it's that combination of Rob Cross has been superb in the he if it wasn't for the absolute dominance of the two Lukes, Rob Cross would be the most talked about darts player. Certainly this year, the last 6 months has been superb. Brilliant, Johnny. But, and also coupled with that is Jan van Veen seems to be not able to find the game that saw him rise to prominence so quickly. You know, we've seen him dispatch big names in big tournaments, but that game that did that seems to be a little out of reach for him at the minute, and he doesn't seem to be able to quite find it currently, which means I'll pick a 10-6 Rob Cross victory.
I agree with everything you said, and I want the same scoreline as well, to be honest. 10-6 to Rob Cross. I just think he's playing very, very well. The only disappointing thing about Rob Cross's form of late is that it arrived to the Premier League 4 weeks too late. Because if not, I firmly believe would have been in contention for that final fight as well.
100%.
Flew in under the radar, perfect, and then got going just that little bit too late. On to the second game of the evening, and this is where plenty of people are tipping an upset of sorts. Joe Cullen is the seeded player, but is really struggling for form of late. Dan celebrated his birthday today. Will it be a happy day for him tomorrow?
I think this is a really difficult one to pick. Joe Cullen's lost his last 7 competitive darts matches. Like, he's not like, and that's so everything he's done. Pro tours, Euro tours. The last time Joe Cullen won a game of darts was the 11th of May. It's the last time he won a game of darts. That is a real bad spell. That. And I think Cullen, unless something's drastically changed, which I've got no reason to suspect it has, I'm not going to. I can't, in good faith, back him to win. I'm going to have to go Dolan. It'll be tighter than probably some of the others I've picked, because Cullen's just his ability to turn up and throw darts will get him through. It'll hold plenty of legs. Even off his A game, he'll hold plenty of legs. He's not against. Again, everyone knows I'm a big Brendan Dolan fan, but he isn't that monster power scorer that Cullen could have been up against, which will mean that Cullen will get to serve out and hold a few legs of his own without being under too much pressure. But I just think the bigger moments in this game, the ton plus check out to pinch a leg and to break a throw, they'll come from Brendan rather than Joe. So I'll give it a 10-8 Dolan.
Yeah, I'm very, very concerned for Joe Cullen's form. He's just got to pick up a win from somewhere and use it as a springboard, as a platform to go on a bit of a run. I thought Brendan looked really, really solid as Josh Rock's partner at the World Cup just a few weeks ago. The fact he's held off Daryl Gurney to that spot is a contribution to that form as well. So I'm going Dolan as well. I'm going to say 10-6 in this one. I think Cullen will hold legs, but I just think it gets away from him a little bit, especially where he hasn't won in so long. It's just got the ability to just disappear on him. The penultimate match of the session, and we get possibly 2 of the players in the least amount of form possible playing against each other. Peter Wright takes on Andrew Gilding. Peter Wright's recent record against Andrew Gilding is very, very good, Dan, and there have been glimpses with certain setups at time. He looked good in the early rounds of the World Cup. We've seen him return to some sort of form on Pro Tours and a Euro Tour, but does he have it on that Winter Garden stage against Andrew Gilding tomorrow afternoon?
Well, he absolutely destroyed him at the UK Open. Like, Peter Wright beat Andrew Gilding 10-1 at the UK Open. Absolutely blew him away in this format. So, in this exact same format, blew him away. We saw glimpses from Andrew Gilding at Players Championship 13, where he make a semi-final, quarter-final, semi-final? What did he win? 1, 2, 3, 4 wins. Where's that got him? Quarters. So we've seen a glimpse recently of Gilding's game picking up. I mean, he needed to do that or he wouldn't have been here. Like, if he hadn't have put that string of wins together at Players Championship Event 13, he probably wouldn't be playing the match play. God, it's hard to pick, and it's not a game I'm excited about. I will probably take the kids to the park while this game's on.
Give them a run out before the football.
And they'll be fucking knackered if I don't bring them back till it's finished. Which way? Toss of a coin. 10-8. Peter Wright. I think he's got more experience than Andrew Gilding has, gathering himself on a big stage when he's out of form. That's if I could put it into a sentence as to the only reason I've picked Peter Wright. They're both out of form. They've both really struggled for it. Peter Wright's got more experience in finding glimpses of his own game on a big stage and getting a bit of rhythm, even if it's for one match or two matches, than Andrew Gilding has. I know Andrew Gilding found a bit of form recently on a Pro Tour event. This is a very, very different event, very different environment.
Yeah, I'm going Wright as well. I think he's just got that knack, that little bit more of getting himself out of trouble in those big games and arresting those slides and just doing enough to get through. You think back to that first World Championship when he's just edging past Noel Malik then. I think he's got that sort of, we'll get away with it, and then we'll give a smug interview at the end telling everybody how he's the player to beat and that Michael Van Gerwen's in trouble. And I fully expect that to kick off after his comments towards Michael Smith at the World Cup. Final game of the afternoon. And if we didn't know a great deal about Danny Noppert of late, Dan, then we know even less about Krzysztof Ratajski. I don't remember talking about the Polish Eagle for a long, long time.
Well, yeah, again, a man that's been somewhat out of form until, similarly to Andrew Gilding, went on a bit of a run, Players Championship 13 a couple of weeks ago. It was actually put out eventually by Andrew Gilding. Then those two met each other. But he did find a day's worth of solid darts. Interesting looking on the head-to-head. Ratajski in recent years has been a bit of a bogey player for Dave Chisnell. You've got to go back to May 2022 for when Dave Chisnell last beat Krzysztof Ratajski. And you've got to go, and before that happens again, you've got to go even further back. So, Ratajski's won 4 on the spin last year. In 2023, they met 4 times. Ratajski won all of them. But I think that head-to-head record goes completely out of the window because, as you mentioned there, in recent times, certainly in the last 6 months of this year, these two players are on very significantly different trajectories, and their game's in a very different place. And for that reason, I'll go with a 10-5 win for Dave Chisnell. I think he'd be comfortable.
Yeah. I mean, I said it on Monday, and I'll say it again. Until Luke Littler got drawn into this section, Dave Chisnell was favourite for me. That includes Michael Van Gerwen. That includes Peter Wright. I think if you're going to mark somebody with that, you have to back them to get through this first round. And I think he does the job 10-6. I think he's just a level above what we're going to see from Ratajski right now. So, yeah, that's me, that's us, and that's all of our predictions for tonight's show from the opening session of the Betfred World Matchplay. A big, big thank you to everybody that has joined us live, or if you're listening back. Keep an eye on our socials for the official word on what will happen with tomorrow's Fallout Bar. Obviously, that session has been brought forward to accommodate the European Championship final, England versus Spain. So we'll let you know what is going on with our Fallout coverage for tomorrow's double session. Plenty of darts to cover, so obviously there will be something out from us, but just keep an eye on that. Make sure you've liked this stream and subscribe to the channel to keep up with all of our content, including interviews from every single player throughout the week, including the one player that you didn't get to hear from us tonight, Nathan Aspinall. That will be out in full on our channel before you wake up in the morning. Now I've just got to find all the buttons to get us out, but big thank you to everybody that has joined us this evening. We've been Online Darts. This has been the Fallout Bar, and we will see you all very, very soon.